Hi Gary, just a quick recap of the key points as requested. First of all was the postural change. As a baseline, we want to try and make sure that your hands are hanging underneath the shoulders at worst, preferably just slightly out in front of the shoulders. That was the feel. Historically, you've tended to get the hands inside the shoulder line too much, and that's had a knock-on effect in other areas of your swing, as we saw during this session. From there, we talked about how ideally we would want to see a transition where we got that squat going in, as we discussed before, but at P5 we had the hands and the arms a little less in, so that the base of the club, or the shaft of the club, was a little bit less on the sort of base of the bicep and a little bit more mid bicep. Now, that in turn affects the position of this trail elbow, and then has a subsequent effect later in the swing. The swing that you're demonstrating here is actually a little bit improved on the one that we did, or the one that you were making in your previous session, but it's still in a little bit too much, shaft a little bit too flat, etc, etc. From there, the sweet spot can occasionally get a little bit too far behind the hands, can drop beneath the right forearm a little bit too quick, resulting in you having to work hard to turn the corner, and the right arm accumulator 1 fires occasionally just a little bit too much, a little bit too soon. Again, that swing that you're making there is not a horrendous movement, but it's a movement that we're trying to sort of tweak and refine a little bit in regards to those key areas. So later in the session, we placed a cane on the floor here and asked you to feel like you're going to match the lead arm up with the cane during your transition. I've got a video where we're discussing what you do from P4 to P5 that I'll produce towards the end of this recap. So the feeling is to match the lead arm up with the shaft, feeling like you're a little bit more pitch elbow, and then from there we did a little bit further work on controlling the right arm. So during the swing on this one, just fast forward it. Posture, you can see here now that the arms have just started to creep slightly inside that shoulder line again. So this was as the lesson had progressed. So rather than being beneath the shoulders, you're just starting to default back to that sort of inside the shoulders look with your hands and your arms. So I want to see the arms angled out ever so slightly. From that position, or from that setup, once the arms are angled out slightly, then what we're trying to do is match up the lead arm. We're looking for a lead arm that is approximately 15 degrees inward at P5. And we're looking for a shaft that is a little bit more mid-bicep. So you can see now that the shaft's starting to get a little bit more mid-bicep. Previously it would be down here, obscuring the elbow. A little bit silhouetted because of the bright day we had when you had your lesson, but you're a little bit more pitch elbow at this point. The club now stays on the right forearm for longer, lines up the hands beautifully at P6. A little bit more flex going into that trail knee. Alignments coming into impact and through impact are starting to look a little bit tidy, a little bit more open with the chest, a little bit more open with the pelvis. And then that movement, just clear the lines out of the way so we can see a little bit more clearly. That movement through the hip is starting to calm down. So the right arm not pronating as fast, club face is a little bit more stable. And we were looking at different players and how, you know, the ability to turn and side bend has an impact on the position of the right arm, and that all good players have a little bit of right arm left to give at P7, with the right arm straightening P7 to P7.5. It can be done at different rates depending on the sort of position you arrive at P7. That can sort of start to dictate what sort of shape of shot will be more preferable, but all in all, the corner that you've got to turn during the business end of things has greatly reduced. due to those changes that we made at setup, and in particular your alignments at P5. We spent a little bit of time discussing what we'd like you to do in transition. I'm just going to play this video through for you. Just under or slightly out in front of the shoulder line. Okay. And then show me the move that you want in there at P5. So on the lead arm, angled in about 15 degrees. On the shaft, maybe mid bicep. Yeah. And show me the one that you would do if you were having a bad one. Okay. So now the arm's angled in maybe 30-40 degrees. Yeah. The hands, in particular the shaft, are encroaching on the lower end of that trail bicep. At the worst, it would look more like that. Yeah. But also have this elbow. There you go. Yeah. So you have the elbow falling back. There you go. Yeah. Do that again for me. So show me the bad one. So elbow width back a little bit more. And then from there you go to where you would be at 6. And then from there you got this huge corner to turn. The right arm, there you go. Yeah. And show me the better move. So 4 to 5, there you go. 5 to 6. And then 6 onwards. Everything can be more incremental than counting. So the idea is to try and establish a transition that makes the other parts of the swing fall into place, rather than consciously trying to manipulate the club from P6 to P7. That would be the ideal. We did a little bit of work with just the right hand only, which I'm pretty sure that you've got via Messenger at some point. I certainly sent you the images across, and I've not sent you the video. I'll dig that out as well. The idea there is to just tidy up the way that accumulator 1, 2 and 3 are releasing through the impact interval. Just a little bit of time warming up during your training, if you lose the feel out on the golf course, etc. Working on that sort of move just to educate the right side what to do and give you a better feel of how to stabilise that club face through the hip.